if you zoom out from a cosmic perspective and ask, like, what is a man? What is a woman? As a unit of consciousness, we are spirit looking for spirit in time and space. That's what we are. So we are looking for meaning and purpose. Meaning and purpose only exists as we look for it, as we endeavor to express it through our lives, through our work, through our relationships, through our family. And there is no pre-existing meaning and purpose that we kind of fall into, like ready-made clothing. We have to create it. We have to find it. We have to create it. And so meaning and purpose has to be sought after, has to be created, has to be found. And one place where I have found enormous meaning and purpose is in relationship, in a committed relationship with someone that I love very much, and then with my, with my children. And the ego looks at this in one way, and your authentic self looks at this very same thing in a totally different way. So your ego says, well, this life, isn't it supposed to be about me, my pleasure, my experience, my achievement, my fulfillment? Isn't that what it's all about? I want space to be able to do things on my terms and have relationships on my terms. And if I want to, experiment with polygamy, for example, that's my right. So that's how the ego looks at all these things. Your authentic self, right, that part of you which was always whole, which is connected deeply with spirit, that part of you has a very different relationship to family, to community. It says, I am already full. And I want to express my fullness, my happiness, my joy with and through my relationships. So it loves commitment. It feels like commitment is God moving through it. So this is why we have to strive to know ourselves and to know that there are different parts of our very own being, because a person could get lost in an egoic relationship to family, to culture and relationship, where it's all about the cult of the individual and the narcissistic approach to life. So you have to know that there is this part of you, and you also have to know, be able to identify your authentic self, which has a totally different take on all of these things. And the ego can never be fixed. It can never be coached or helped to get to a better relationship to all these things, because the ego, by virtue of its own essence, is separation. It's the story of separation. So these things can never be fixed or unified. What you have to do is understand that there's a relationship to life from your authentic self, which is the enlightened life, which is the fulfilled life. And it's a very, very different place. And it's about a conscious relationship to life. It's not about belief, right? Again, we have to move ourselves out of these old belief structures and understand that as sovereign spiritual beings, we can have a direct relationship with the universe, a direct relationship with God. And this is a new thing. And from this sovereign place where you say, well, I take responsibility for my life, for my enlightenment, for my fulfillment, then you will understand that relationships look totally different. And it's also completely obvious. There's no existential difficulty in understanding these things whatsoever. It's so clear. What is natural, that is family. We wouldn't, if your mum and dad never got together, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So of course it's absolutely natural, but we're having this conversation within the context of a culture which is incredibly narcissistic, this pluralistic, narcissistic, postmodern culture, which is all about the individual, has a narrative going on which is very compelling. It's like, oh, well, I should be able to live my life and go to Bali and do cacao ceremonies. And that is just the ego's relationship to this life. It's just as simple as that. And you could spend 10 years caught up in the complexity of, wondering whether you would be happier in a polygamous relationship with these people or that person. But what I can tell you from my own experience in looking into this, in my own relationships, and then observing many people doing the same thing, and I challenge anybody on this, is that those kind of relationships will not bring you sustained happiness and meaning and purpose over over any considerable period of time. And it's just as simple as that. I can guarantee you that's the way it looks. And I know this probably sounds very opinionated, but it's the reality of the situation, because I've been very interested in it myself. But it's not sustainable. It doesn't work. And sure, I think that it's okay through adolescence and youth to figure out a lot of stuff yourself. But we don't have a culture. We don't have a family system. We don't have a support system. We don't have elders. We don't have anybody that's teaching us, like, this is what a man looks like. This is what a strong man looks like. This is, I didn't have that experience. I can remember the first time that I met what I considered to be a strong man was when I was 30, like he sort of stood out to me and I was like, oh, wow, this is super interesting. We don't have a template of any kind for people to grow up and have an example of families that work, of fathers that are taking care and responsibility. So then we're all left to figure this out ourselves. And it's a problem. And I hope that there are enough men that want to take this on and women that want to take this on, because it's desperately needed.
Yeah. Do you expect society getting back to this? Like, we were talking before about the cycles, right? Do you expect there might still be this move going back, or do you think we're too far gone?
I don't know. My hope in my heart and my gut sense is that we will go through some form of collapse and then a renaissance. And so I think that it's very, very possible. Might be touch and go for a while. I really don't know what it's going to look like. But we should definitely start to be talking about it now, so that we can lay out some of the blueprints for those people that want to take this further.
So I guess what I'm hearing, like, we could summarize when we're talking about romantic relationships, that simplicity is key and not overcomplicating things, because ultimately that's what the ego does, right? The ego is the one complicating this thing that shouldn't be as complicated.
The ego, your ego, my ego, it's the same ego, right? It's how the rational mind creates the story of an individual being. So your history, your personal history, your opinions, your likes and dislikes. This is where we put most of our life force energy into creation of this separate self. So we've been trained to look at all aspects of our life from this place of separation. So we're always going to get caught up in endless angst and complexity, because the way that the world looks from the place of the ego is fearful. It's a place of lack. And it's always going to look like that. The ego cannot be fixed. Here's the thing. You've got to understand, as a spiritual being on a journey of the evolution of your own consciousness, is that your ego will always be a separate entity. It cannot be fixed or healed. Always going to be like this. So whenever you find yourself in complexity, in doubt, in confusion, it's probably a sign that you're caught up in the mechanics of your ego, which is the mechanics of the creation of the separate self. So the way forward is not to fix it. The way forward is to know yourself, so that you can identify another part of your being, which is your authentic self. And your authentic self is whole. It's always been whole from the moment that you were born. It's whole, it's innocent, it's full, and it's a very different place to have a relationship to life from. Totally different. It's the difference between hell and heaven. The hell of the ego and the heaven of your authentic self. Now, that's not necessarily the place of enlightenment. That's something else. I couldn't tell you exactly what that is, but it is a place of liberation, and it is a place where every human being can absolutely bring themselves to. And so many things solve themselves from this place. So relationships solve themselves, responsibility, meaning and purpose, they're all found here. And these are things that here's the thing. We can figure these things out if we decide to engage with them. The answers have not yet been created, but we are together intelligent enough and smart enough to intuit and divine the way forward. So that's how the future works. We've got to sort of intuitively push into it and bring it here. So it's up to us to create it. And however well prepared we think that we are, that we feel that we are, or however badly prepared, incomplete that we believe ourselves to be, we can only do it from the place that we are now, whether that's your individual future, figuring out your own life path or your relationships, or whether you are also interested in creating something new. We can only do it from where we are now. So we've got to have these conversations as the humans that we are now, with the level of development that we have now, but we are more than capable of creating a new and very compelling and fulfilling future for us.